Okay, welcome to episode 1.1 of From The Finchale End. A few technical issues yesterday, mainly by me, forgetting to record the first session. But here we go. I've got Chris Rushworth joining us for episode 1. Chris's dad, Joe, actually said we should call episode 1 the Fast and the Furriest, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. But I think we're probably more look like the Mitchell brothers at the moment, mate, with our beautiful hairstyles. But welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us from the Finchale End. Just want to really have a chat, really, with past and current players, just to get a feel on why Durham's so special. I love the club, and I know that it means so much to people of the Northeast. And I thought, who better than to get the current leader of the pack on? So, first question I've got for you, mate, is what's your earliest memory of cricket, and how did you get into cricket?
Thanks for having us again. Earliest memory, I can't put a specific sort of like a specific memory, but being a young lad, following my dad, who you mentioned, following him round with my brother, cousins, all around the northeast really. He played, my uncles played, cousins, so we're a very cricket-rich family. So just following, I guess, local from a very young age, and obviously getting into it myself.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, you started off at Hilton as a young fella, and like you said, you pretty much your whole family was there. Your dad, your brother, your cousins were all there. So it was probably a natural thing for you to be down and around cricket probably all week, all day on a Saturday, and for all your school holidays.
Yeah, like I say, cricket was a bit of a no-brainer really. Following everyone. I remember. So we used to live in a terrace street, and our cousins Mustards, obviously Phil the Colonel, England, Durham, great. They lived 2 doors up, so for us to play cricket in the back lane and stuff like that, it was something that happened every day. I remember during the winter they used to play indoor cricket comps at what used to be the old McEwen Centre.
Yep.
Now Rain Meadows. I used to play indoor cricket there, and I remember one day Colonel's dad coming knocking on the door because there were one man. I think I was only 8 or 9 at the time. So we need someone to play. Do you want to come and play? And that was really my first cricket game. Might have even been younger than 8 or 9. So
good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Love it that it's all in the family. So started off at Hilton and then moved to Sunderland in your club career. Run me through that move, why you moved, and then how did you progress on from Sunderland?
So again, following my brother really, when the Premier League started in, was it 99, 2000, my brother wanted to impress his cricket, so he felt the best way for that was, to go and play the best standard possible available. So we all moved as a family across to Ashbrook. I think I was 13 at the time. I had 2 years there before being asked to join the academy, which was something special and a little bit out of the blue really. So unfortunately didn't have too much time on Ashbrook as he had, but I guess that experience as a younger lad playing that higher standard of cricket made the big difference. And I guess being asked into the academy a year before you normally do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Chris's brother Lee is a fantastic batsman, one of the best growing up. I had the pleasure to play with him at Washington, and boy could he bat, good player. So, in the academy, you were in the academy for quite a long time, weren't you? Because you said you joined young. Yeah, I think you were on about 5 years, weren't you, on the academy? And things didn't quite pan out the way that we'd all hoped for you at that stage. So run us through what happened towards the end of that first stint in the academy.
Yeah, so like I said, last year at school, came out of the blue. Jeff asked to join the academy in the summer after a little bit of sort of winter practice with the boys. So joined the academy. I think it was sort of 14, coming up to 15. Like I say, probably a year earlier than expected. With still being in school and that kind of stuff. So I was there till 19. 19, got released, or had a conversation with Jeff and said, look, it's not really working out at the moment. We've organised a place for you on the MCC Young Cricketers.
Right.
If you want to go down there and, you know, try your hand down there. So kind of went away for a few weeks thinking it over. At the time, I went to play in Kalgoorlie over with Safes in Western Australia. So after a few weeks out there, I decided, you know, I don't think the YCs was the way to go for me. So I emailed coach at the time, just said, oh, look, cheers for the opportunity. But, you know, I'm going to give it a miss. So spent the winter out in Cal, came home. Over winter, I went back to Hilton after being released from the academy. I'd signed for Hilton as captain to go and play with mates and just enjoy the game a little bit, I guess. After a few weeks of the season, kind of realised that, you know, I actually do miss playing cricket for a living. So organised a few trials and things. Had a net down in Brighton, which for anyone that does know geography, Brighton is a hell of a long way to go for a 2-hour net.
You went all the way to Brighton.
Nothing came of that. Just for a net.
Wow.
Nothing came of that. Spent 2 days down at Northampton. Had a couple of nets there. Again, nothing came of that. So yeah, played the rest of that season at Hilton, and then the year after that went and joined Sunland, which I think CCC joined, and had a year there.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was great to have you. We had a pretty serious attack at the time at Sunderland, and we had a good side. But it was brilliant to see that you still had that drive and energy to get back and to have another crack at the professional game. I think, and no disrespect to these jobs, but a couple of jobs that weren't really for you probably pushed you along and thought, hang on a minute, I can actually do this and get back into the professional game. Run me through the process of how that actually happened. So you spend a year at Sunderland where you took a lot of wickets and were quite successful. Back at the time, you used to enjoy batting as well, so you're actually quite a handy all-rounder. And then Durham came knocking again, so run me through that.
Yeah, so at the time over at Ashbrook, I think we was still playing second team cricket, but kind of doing a lot of coaching with us. Yeah. I think he was still in touch with John Lewis, who was the then second team coach at Durham. They'd kind of chatted, and then that winter, basically Jeff said, "Oh look, do you want to come and train with the boys? Help us out. We need a few extra bowlers. Do you want to come and, you know, in and around your job and things like that? Just slide in when you can." So went and had a net a few days a week when I wasn't at work, or when the job allowed and things like that. And then at the start of that summer in 2009, Jeff just said, "Oh look, there's a 4-week trial here for you if you want it." Obviously at the time with a full-time job and stuff, I kind of said, "Oh look, I'm working. It's a bit of a gamble or whatever." And Jeff, as he does, just kind of looked at us and went, "What do you want to do?" So I went home, and then literally 20 seconds after walking through the front door, just rang him straight up, said, "Jeff, look, I'd love to." And then it was a bit of a fairy tale story from there, really, because that trial came down in Essex. I think I took 11 or 12 wickets in the game. 2 weeks later, I was offered a 2 years. So it was, you know, it's something I'm very proud of, and I'll never forget Jeff for giving me a second opportunity.
Yeah, absolute fairy tale stuff. That brilliant, mate. Run me through who was the bowlers at the club at the time.
At the time, I think the first team attack was, who would have been? I've still been playing a little bit of England, but if you look at all the bowlers in total, there was Hammy, Bunny, Graham Onions, Liam Plunkett, Mark Davies, Carl Thorpe, Big Luke Evans was around.
Yeah. Love seeing his guitar work at the moment, actually, on Facebook.
He's keeping us entertained, isn't he? So, you know, there was a massive group of bowlers, and, you know, there was a lot of international cricketers in there. So I guess to be asked to come in and, you know, mix it with blokes like that, you know, it was a big kind of pat on the back, and, you know, it was a massive spur.
Absolutely outstanding. That's kind of where I was getting at there, to stand out enough to get a contract at that stage with the kind of calibre of the bowlers that they had there. You must have been doing something right. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So, Durham, in your heart, in your blood, tell our viewers out there why why Durham means so much to you?
I think it's just a pride and passion of being from the northeast, regardless of the sport that's involved. I think sport in general, whether it's football, cricket, rugby, I think everyone has a huge passion and love for sport. So as a young lad, like say, watching my dad play a decent standard of local cricket, and then being involved in Durham juniors and watching Durham when they first started playing, to then be part of their history and things, it's a massive privilege for me, and hopefully I can inspire kids of the future to want to play for Durham and go on to some great things.
I think you are doing that in various ways. So you talked about the history of Durham. You're actually part of Durham history. You've got the best overall bowling figures in a first-class game. You took 15 wickets. Was that in one day, I think, against Northants?
Was in one day. It's a day I'll never forget. One of the strangest games of cricket for more reasons than one. The first day was a complete washout. Day two, the full day. I think we were 8 or 9 down after day two, which was effectively day one. And then the third day, which is the second day we actually played, we batted for another 10, 15 overs in the morning. And then the game was finished time. Was just incredible. It was one of those days where everything seemed to go my way. It was one of those where, I genuinely felt like I was taking a wicket every ball. Just amazing. Just one of those things where I could have kept on bowling. But we had the Lord's final about 4 or 5 days later, and Rocky was stood at mid-off, and he was like, "Mate, come on, save yourself." It was an incredible day's cricket.
Great stuff. There's another record that's probably looming on the horizon that you've got your eye on, I reckon. Just going to run through a little bit of a list. I tried to get some stats off the internet. Now, stats aren't my thing, as Marty Emerson will tell you, that when we come to commentate on the games, he normally hands out about 10 pages of stats. But the list of the top 5 wicket takers for Durham in first-class cricket, you've got Graham Onions, who sits on 527. You mentioned Simon Brown earlier. He sits on 518. And then you've got yourself on 489. So not that far behind Bunny. And I guess if this bloody COVID hadn't quite a hit there, you'd have been looking to bust that this year. I'll continue on with that list. You've got Harmy that follows you there on 458, and then it drops off to Liam Plunkett down to 263. So it's a pretty good list to be in, mate. 4 Test cricketers. I know Chubby only played the 1, but 4 Test cricketers plus yourself. How close did you come to pulling on the 3 lines?
I think it was when Jimmy Anderson was injured before a Test match at Trent Bridge. Woody actually ended up playing in the Test and won the Ashes. But before that Test, we were playing a 50-over game at the Riverside, and James Whittaker was there, the selector. Kind of pulled me and Judgy over to one side and said, "Look, Jimmy's injured. There's a few names on the list to fill in for the next Test to bring into the squad. You're included in those names. How do you feel about that?" I kind of looked at Judge a bit puzzled, as if, hang on, it feels a bit of a trick question.
No, I'm not ready, mate.
The national selector's asking, how do I feel about playing for England? So kind of looked and was like, "Oh, yep, now that sounds good." And then before I went to I was, "Look, I'm ready. Look, if you want me to play, I'm ready. Look, give me a ring. Raring to go. I'd love to." And he kind of went, "Right, that's great. That's what I wanted to hear." So kind of came out with that quite positive, thinking, "Oh, yeah, seems good." But then I've not spoke to him since, so obviously it wasn't good enough.
Absolutely crazy. I mean, it was at the time, wasn't there, where the theory of England bowlers was everybody needs to be like 6'6" and bowl 90 miles an hour. But I remember at the time he dropped me a message, and between me and your dad, I think we messaged each other probably every 5-10 minutes, just say, "Have you heard anything? Is he in? What's going on?" But
it was my dad that told me that I wasn't in. So obviously I'd not spoke to anyone from there. Obviously, all my mates were constantly asking, texting. And in the end, I had to turn my phone off and leave it. And I remember going out with Joanne and the kids later that day. Got back home and had a message from my dad saying, "Oh, I see you didn't get picked," and I was like, "Oh,
Cheers,
right. Did I not? Oh, cheers, go." So that's how I found out, which is, that was a little bit annoying that it came from, TV sources and stuff like that, and not the actual people in charge, which was, it's a shame, but we move on.
We do, mate, and we will. Well, I don't want to dwell on that, because I think that we can all say that that's a sign of the success that you were having at the time, that to be even on that radar, you were doing awesome. So we'll just move past that. Outside of cricket, mate, so we've obviously spent, the best part of 3 months where we could have been heavily involved in cricket, you with your pre-season tour and then moving into the season itself. What's kept you occupied while you've not been able to run in from the Finchale End?
Well, the kids keep me occupied. First few weeks, obviously, my wife's still working throughout all this. In fact, she's trying to work from home in the kitchen, which I don't know how she's managing. When I'm trying to homeschool the kids,
I'd love to see that.
We tried for a good few weeks, and now it's just we try and get as much as we can out of them, and just let them be happy, because it's been very, very hard work and frustrating for me. So big respect to all the teachers out there doing it, and to everyone at home who's looking after their kids. Good luck to you. But other than that, I've been trying to play a little bit of golf since the golf courses have opened. Throughout the whole lockdown, I've been trying to keep on top of fitness and things. Obviously, we never know when that call's going to come to play, so I've got into me running. Been knocking a few PBs out of late, which has been nice. Really enjoying that. And I guess it's just trying to stay mentally fresh, because, like I say, we're pretty close to some form of cricket, I think, now. So it's just making sure that when the call comes, we're ready to go.
Yeah. Not such a bad thing. I know you definitely want to be out on the park at the moment, but getting to spend a lot of time with your kids at this age, especially when you can be outside, because I know as a family, you love to spend time outside, and Emily and Henry are pretty energetic youngsters, and just to get this precious time with them, I guess, is a positive at the moment. But we all know how you'll be itching to get back on that park. On the fitness side, run us through. You've made quite a big life choice and a life decision, and you're probably one of the few that don't announce it every 5 minutes. So run me through your change into being a vegetarian and why you've done that.
Yeah, so it was end of October last year, early November. Just thought we'd give it a crack, see if it would, help with fitness, that kind of stuff. Watched a well-known documentary around it, which at the time it was kind of, I'll give it a go, see how I feel. There's no harm in trying it, and it's something I've never looked back on. Fitness tests and fitness scores and things went through the roof, during the winter, before pre-season, all that kind of stuff. Smashing PBs out, probably in the best shape of my career, which I guess coming up 34 in a few weeks' time, it's a good place to be. It's just a shame we've had no cricket. But now, like I say, turned vegetarian, something I'd never thought I'd say, but it's something I've, it's made a massive difference in, my physical appearance, that's for sure. But now I love every minute of it.
It was interesting because there was a photo not long back on social media that the club put out of you on your first class debut, and if you look at that photo to you now, there's a remarkable difference.
I had hair.
Well, sort of. You were
I think I'm clinging on.
You're on the slippery slope, but I must admit, mate, you've worked really hard in these last 2 or 3 years to really drive your career forward, and obviously those milestones are something that keeps you going, and just your overall passion to stay on the park, which is brilliant. Okay, so I'm just going to run through a little thing that I'm going to finish off with all the players, which is I'm going to do 6 questions. I'm going to call it Hit for 6. Little bit of rapid fire, a little bit of humour, and just to get to know Chris and his teammates a little bit better. So, what's your favourite ground to play cricket at?
Lords.
Is that for the ground itself or for the food?
Cricket and reasons, and for the food.
Yeah, food's pretty good there, I must admit. I must admit. Okay, give us the nicknames that the boys have given you over the years.
So Rushy, Sponge, what else is there? Pilko, and Pudsey. Liam Plunkett used to call me Brillo Pad.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Rushy is a particularly hairy man, not on top, but he carries a few follicles elsewhere, shall we say. Right, 3 teammates, past or present, that you would pick for a night out.
Pick for a night out. Cam Steele.
Yeah.
Stu Pointer. And Mark Turner for a night out. I think Tina was always very entertaining back in the day.
Yeah, good lad. Great character. 3 good characters, actually. Very good. So, 3 teammates that you would not pick to be in your pub quiz team.
3 current Durham players: Scott Steele, Jack Burnham, Bryden Cars.
Yeah, there's not
3
a lot
of the
between them.
worst quiz players you've ever seen.
There's not a lot between them. And to say that Ben Whitehead doesn't fit into that category probably gives people a fair idea of
Ben's a few steps above those 3, which doesn't say a lot, really.
Absolutely amazing. Okay, so we'll move on to the tightest. So this could be a past or current teammate again. Who's the last bloke to get the round in?
Gareth Hart.
Gareth Hart. Surprised that he's just spent money on getting some work done in Turkey, I believe. So maybe he was saving.
Maybe he was just saving up. We'll let him off. We'll give him the rest of the season. See how we go.
Yeah, might get around him now that we've outed him. Right, last question in this one. If you won the lottery and became a millionaire, what would be the first thing you'd spend your money on?
It took us a while to think of this, but I think I would pay off my mortgage and then get a nice family holiday booked somewhere like Disneyland, Florida, and make it a big, whole, massive experience.
Yeah, awesome. Something for the big kids as well, eh?
Absolutely.
Brilliant, mate. Well, Chris, I really want to thank you for your time. Episode 1.1 of the Finchale End has come to an end. A few thank yous. I want to thank Marty Oswald from Sanctus Energy. He's kind of stumped up to support the first episode, which is brilliant. But Chris, again, I just want to thank you. For our viewers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up some past and current players. So I'm going to look at some of the overseas legends that the club's had as well, and just talk to them around what they thought made the Northeast so special to them. I'm sure the weather was part of that. But some names that have committed so far is Simon Brown, who we've mentioned earlier, which is brilliant. We've got Ian Blackwell. Mark Turner said he's dead keen for a chat and he's a great character. And your current gaffer, Marcus North, says he's really keen to have a chat as well. So we've got at least 5 or 6 weeks worth of chat to come. And hopefully we can keep you entertained throughout that period. So just want to thank you again, mate. Take it easy and hopefully we'll see you on the park soon.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, pal. Cheers.
Soon.